Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of Eggs. Today you've got me, Ryan, and Mike. What's up, Mike?
Not a lot. This is what we do when we get a last minute reschedule, and we were planning on doing this podcast anyways.
Yes, we were prepared to do a show, and unfortunately we had a guest cancellation. It's okay. We actually don't get as much time as I'd like to sit and visit with each other, especially in the summer months. Mike's super busy, and when he's not busy, I'm busy, and so it just kind of works out that way. So Mike is back studio side. For people who've been following the show all summer, he's been calling in from a campground all summer.
Yeah,
So,
it's the only place that was close with the Wi-Fi, so I could just drive down there and sit at a picnic table. And
yeah, it was perfect. It made for some really impressive backgrounds, though. They looked like our Zoom backgrounds, but
in real life,
reals.
Yeah.
So occasionally we'd get some bird calls and things like that in there too. It was a very convincing wallpaper.
Yeah, it was hilarious. I'd be sitting there, and all of a sudden my mic would go muted because Ryan has controls, and he'd just send me a message and be like, "There's a bird in the background," and I was getting really annoyed.
Yeah, no, it's pretty funny, but it's cool, and it's actually one of the things for people who have stuck with the show for all these years. Just a little walk down memory lane here. I mean, but we've done the show from some like crazy spots. We've made it work from sitting outside of hotels with Wi-Fi.
That was like, I don't know, 2 weeks in. We had just started, and we wanted to keep the streak going. So it was like, screw it, I'm going to drive. I was in Ocean Shores, and I had to drive to like Seaside or something to find a hotel with unprotected Wi-Fi.
Yeah,
and we did.
Yeah, it was awesome. And and then we've also done, back then too, we were trying to do the show from like this little pool house thing at this loft I was living at, and so, but when we couldn't get in there or we needed a better space, we'd go and rent like a hotel room at the Motel 6 over there. So we call it Studio 6. And we did a number of calls over there. In fact, I think our first guest we ever did that way was Gina Grad.
That's hilarious.
Set up over at Studio 6, and we had to figure out how to take a phone call. And rigged up an iPhone to a soundboard and figured out how to actually take a phone call. And,
yeah, that was rough because she didn't do anything on the computer, and we hadn't ever done anything with a phone, so it was a little tricky to figure out, but we got it done.
Yeah, no, but it was pretty cool. And actually, I mean, clips of that show I've seen even recently still kind of floating around and stuff. So
yeah,
pretty cool that something that we did so long ago is still kicking around.
Well, and we did a few shows when I was in Nome. We did a few shows when you were in Spain.
Yeah.
So
we've been all over.
Yeah.
And in fact, I think the worst one I ever had was from Hawaii, because there was this big 5-hour time difference. Yeah. And then our Wi-Fi kind of sucked, and it was just like, as good as we could get. But even that one was, a long time ago.
Yeah.
So yeah,
crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. So
how you been, man?
Good. Well, I don't know, for people also who pay any attention to the show, or if you're watching the video version of this, you can see more electrical outlet on my wall than you normally see. And the reason for that is that I'm sitting at like a, 45-degree angle because I've got this ridiculous shoulder pain issue that I'm working through.
Still?
And it's still going on. So I finally got onto a steroid, what do they call it? A steroid taper, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And it's supposed to help with some inflammation. And we'll see if that helps. Seems to be a little better. I slept good last night, so that was a change of pace. This has been going on about a week now. Well, I guess more than that, about 10 days. And it's just been killer. But if I sit at about a 45-degree angle, which is great for my chins and everybody who wants to look up my nose, this is it's a perfect, very comfortable situation.
That's why you got to elevate your camera like mine. Look down at you. It's slimming.
But it does take the edge off the shoulder pain. So anyway, so pardon that. But yeah, so outside of that though, which has been all consuming for the last 10 days, to the extent that I was missing work and some other stuff over the last few days, just because it's been too much. And more than anything, it's a concentration blocker. Like when all of a sudden the pain starts, like I can't even think.
You can't focus. Yeah.
So it's been a real struggle, and I've tried everything, right? I mean, from aspirin to gummies to everything. And, nothing has totally taken the edge off of it. The closest I got was like with a little pot gummy or something. But the problem with that was getting the dose right so that it would take off the pain, but not screw up my thinking.
Yeah.
And so I only did that for a day or two, and I was like, it wasn't very sustainable.
Not working. Yeah.
So anyway, so now we're back onto the white man's medicine. And we'll see how whatever this is.
What is that? Heroin?
Yeah, pretty close. Yeah, no, methylprednisolone is what it is.
Oh, so it's got meth in the name. Okay.
It's got meth right in there. So
be careful with that stuff. I've heard it's highly addictive.
Yeah, exactly. Well, anyway, so that's supposed to taper down over the next couple or next, I think it's about a 6-day cycle or something like that. You start with like 10 pills or 6 pills and then work down to 1.
Yeah.
So anyway, so we'll see if that gives it enough time. I had an MRI on Friday, and basically I've got a couple bulging discs or something in my neck that are pushing against my spinal cord.
Yeah.
So, and everybody I tell that to goes, "Ooh, I hope you'll be all right." Like, hey, I mean, so maybe I'm not as worried as I should be, but for me, it seems like maybe a repetitive stress injury, one of these problems with sitting at a computer 12 hours a day, every day.
Yeah.
And because everybody I've talked to about this shoulder pain are sort of in the same type of industry as I am or have worked in it, and they all have a similar story. So I'm hopeful that I'm doing physical therapy and some other things like that. So I'm hoping through physical therapy, maybe getting the inflammation down using this medication, and then all this other stuff, maybe I'll get straight in the next couple of days and be good to go. So at least that's what I'm hoping. Hopefully it's nothing more serious than that.
The funny thing is I actually have shoulder pain too right now. And I don't know. I think it was work related over the summer. I was trying to pull a dead branch off a tree and I lost my footing. I was kind of on a hill. And so I grabbed the branch and it didn't break. And so now I'm dangling by my arm and it's been hurting ever since. But I'm one of those guys, I'm not going to file like an LNI claim or something like that, although I probably should. But
right.
What can you do?
Yeah. No, I get it, man. And I think some of it's just being old too, just shit starts to break and it takes longer to heal. So because I've had almost this exact same pain before in the past, I always blamed it on my old car because something to do with the way that center console was, it would sort of trigger this thing in me.
In your Beamer?
So, yeah. And something about the way the center console was, like it was just a little bit too low or something. But I would trigger this kind of pain, somewhat regularly, maybe every other month or something like that. And the pain was very similar. And so I always just sort of blamed the car. But I would normally be over it in 3 or 4 days, something like that. And now this time around, it's been, like I say, 10 days. And it's just, kind of came out of nowhere. Like I don't know what caused it. So anyway, but we'll keep trying PT. Hopefully we can get control of the inflammation or whatever and see if those discs will sort of right themselves.
Yeah.
And we'll go from there. But anyway, today was definitely the best day that I've had in a while. Yesterday was the first day I was on this steroid. So hopefully that helps. But
nice.
But anyway, so that's where I'm at. And that's why I'm sitting stupid. So, which makes it really hard to drink anything. I mean, I've got my coffee here and everything, and I'm spilling all over myself and all.
Yeah.
That. So anyway, so let's tell us a little bit more about your summer stuff. So, I mean, obviously people who know Mike's DJ, he was up there doing weddings and all kinds of stuff. So maybe you can fill us in.
Yeah, I had, I think 12, maybe 13 weddings this summer. And they're all in Chelan, Washington. There was one that wasn't. It was just outside of Chelan. But I ended up buying a camper and I took a summer job working for a couple campgrounds as a maintenance person just to afford the rent because Chelan is not cheap. And if you want to stay there for extended period of time, you either have to have a really good friend, which was what I did in the past, or a lot of money, which, kind of defeats the purpose of going and working there. The idea is to save a bunch of money and be able to live the rest of the year. And if I go and spend all that on rent, a couple grand a month or more, probably like $2,500 to $3,000 a month to live there. And then there's a thing there called Chelan tax, which is, it's like essentially if you're in Hawaii or Cabo or something like that, everything's like 30 to 40% more just because you're in a resort town or destination town. So if you're going to go eat, minimum is going to be $20-$25 to sit down and have a meal, and then all that other stuff. So I figured I'd just instead of buying a place or something, I just bought a camper and the day job pretty much is paying that off. 2 years I'll have it paid off. So if I do the same thing next summer, the camper will be paid for.
Yeah.
Clear. So
yeah, no, it's cool. Well, and I mean, it's kind of a cool situation, that you can do this kind of day job stuff and go be outdoors, and because like I think for everybody that's sort of stuck in an office or whatever, like I mean, all of us sort of aspire to get more outdoor time, and so the fact that you could sort of incorporate that into your work, I think made for a pretty awesome situation, and probably nice to have your own private space instead of being on somebody's couch or whatever.
Yeah, I kind of had a private space at the other place, but it just their kids are growing up, and I'm kind of encroaching on their turf, and I didn't want to do that much longer. So,
Yeah.
I was like last winter, I was looking for a solution, and I found this place and decided to give it a try. And I actually really enjoy the work. I didn't enjoy it on Sunday morning when I had to go do it after a wedding, but and it was kind of, I mean, when I had weddings back to back to back, like 3 weeks in a row, the only day I would have off is Wednesday, and that's the day that we record this. And so Wednesday I was playing catch up, doing laundry, going grocery shopping, doing whatever I could to meet my needs, and then it ended up just being a lot. But it, now that it's over, I feel a lot better, but at the same time, I'm like kind of itching to keep doing stuff. I call it my gym, like getting out and doing outdoor work is, I'd much rather do that than go run on a treadmill or lift weights or whatever. And so I just put in a solid day's work and get some exercise, and I'd go home and walk down to the campground where the Wi-Fi's at, and code for a few hours, and then come back up and I'd download some videos on Netflix or YouTube, and then that way I'd have something to watch at night when I'm going to sleep.
Yeah, no, it's not a bad deal. And I mean, I saw some of the footage, or different, camera angles of the different camp spots, or, sort of saw your proximity down near the water and stuff like that. Like, I mean, it's such a cool place to be. Yeah. And to have the opportunity to basically spend the whole summer out there, and then also, get a little work done and, handle your career, but at the same time, get out and sort of do all that stuff. I think it's pretty cool, pretty unique opportunity.
Yeah, I definitely will do it again if I don't get a software gig between now and then. If I get a software gig, I'll just go and camp there, and work during the day, and maybe be a park host or something, and then get my exercise that way. But
it's very cool. Well, and I mean, it really does speak to sort of the remote work world or whatever we live in, because you don't get a lot more remote than that, and you're still able to kind of make things work. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was pretty way up in the mountains, and the fact that I think the only reason they had Wi-Fi there is because there's no cell signal, and they want the people to be able to, have contact to the outside world, so they put a Wi-Fi in. But I tell you what, I sure gained a lot of respect for custodians and people in that industry, because there are some disgusting people on this planet.
Yeah, no, it's no joke. When I was a kid, when I was like 16, 17, I worked at a retail chain called Shopco. Mm-hmm. And I worked in I was called an MST tech, which is basically shorthand for like guy that throws freight. And so I would unload trucks all day and then restock shelves and that kind of stuff. Super sexy work, high dollar kind of stuff. And but on occasion, if something happened in one of the bathroom facilities after the janitorial team had gone home, that rolled downhill to us. Ugh. And so on occasion, we had to go unplug a toilet or whatever. And I remember one time getting called up to the front of the store to go check out. There was something going on in the men's room. And so I went in there, and in the stall, somebody had, this was like, I don't know, too hot for TV, but had like splattered like fecal matter all over the walls, all over the floor, all over the ceiling. All
4 times this summer.
Yeah. And I'm just like, who are these humans? Yeah. Like, who is this person that, is just, I guess, grabbing it and chucking it around? Like, I don't know what the hell they're doing. Yeah. Like, I mean, I can't figure it out. But anyway, I closed the door and I locked it from the outside, and I just put a sign on the door that said closed.
I'm not dealing with that.
So
I'll quit first.
Yeah, I ended up getting written up for it because it was sort of our job to clean up. But I was just like, it's a bridge too far, man. You're paying me $6.10 an hour. Like, I can't clean this place up for that. Like, it's just too much.
I was making 18 an hour plus benefits, which isn't amazing, but isn't horrible.
Yeah,
you know, for what it is. And most of the time I was outdoors, you know, cleaning, you know, like campsites or taking care of, you know, like branches that need to be cut or trimmed, and, you know, just general maintenance. But every now and then I'd have to clean bathrooms. And I remember there was one bathroom in particular that it was always the problem one. And I opened one of the back showers, and someone had dropped a deuce right in the middle of the shower. And I'm like, there's literally a stall right next door. So my theory is the ranger or whoever was there got on their case, and they're like, I'll show you. And then payback kind of thing. And what they don't realize is whoever got on their case isn't the one cleaning it up. It's a slow life.
Yeah.
But
no, it's just gross. Well, and it just makes you wonder what the hell is going on with people, because I can't even wrap my head around that kind of thing. Like, it's just berserk.
Well, and you know, I'm if you've listened to the show long enough, you know that I'm not too proud to do manual work. I've done manual work a lot, and cleaning bathrooms, it's manual work, but it pays the bills. And I was able to, I made about 10 grand on top of the DJ money that I made, and all the DJ money, you know, stayed in the business, and the 10 grand just went right to the camper. And so, you know, I'll do whatever, just make some money and get through. I'm probably going to be working at a ski resort this winter if I can get the job, just because I'm cheap and don't want to buy a lift pass. So I'll go and
yeah, that'll work out great. They probably just ski for free.
Well, they do.
That's perfect.
That's a perk of the job. And so I was telling a friend, I was like, yeah, I applied to be a lift operator because I want to go snowboarding and get that exercise and get out and have fun. But I don't want to spend $500 for a lift pass and having to work there. I'll A, get paid to be there, and B, it'll give me an excuse to go up there every day. So win-win.
Yeah, not a bad deal. Well, if you do end up working up there, talk to that guy that runs that place. I wouldn't mind having him on the show.
Shay and the
Yeah, he's had a colorful go around, so it'd be interesting to catch up with him. I went to high school with him, but I didn't really know him well. We had some sort of family circles or friend circles that crossed, but I didn't spend any real time with him.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, anyway, no, he went on. The guy we're talking about is this guy. His name's, well, back then it was Shay Carlson. I don't know what he goes by now, but or maybe it's just Shay Carl or something. He was a big YouTuber for a little while, sold his company to Disney. It was this whole thing, like, you know, pretty impressive guy, but, you know, one of the bigger, you know, stories to make it out of sunny Pocatello, Idaho.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if I remember right, I think that the terms of the original deal were something like $500 million, and, you know, is what he sold it for or something. It's
wow.
Just berserk. Like,
that's insane.
You know, and so being a kid from Pocatello, like, this is a big story. So, and, but anyway, I didn't know him well, but like I say, I'd like to, you know, rap with him, talk a little bit about sort of that rise and everything. So if you're up there, you know, feel free to pitch him.
Yeah.
So it's funny. I sort of assumed I'd run into him one of these days because, like, I mean, I do know a number of guys that he hangs out with and stuff. So I thought,
well, he lives right up there by Clint, doesn't he?
Yeah. And I thought maybe we'd get connected, you know, through somebody that we knew, but it's just never come to pass. So, so if you ever get him, you know, let me know. So, one of the things that came up the other day, so we did a show last week. This guy, I think it was Brenton Perkins was his name. Mm-hmm. And we spent a lot of time talking about sort of, you know, things that are, well, I don't know how to say it. Just like, you know, stuff that's important to, like, part of being a man and part of being a business person and part of, you know, all these kinds of different things, right? And one of the things that I made a comment about is that I feel like a lot of the stuff that I'm doing isn't all that important. right? Or it doesn't really, move the needle as far as things, so like, yeah, I'm working, I make a living, blah, blah, blah. That's great. And we do other stuff, like we do the podcast, we do all these things. And, so, I mean, there's stuff going on, but like in terms of like big earth shaking, like, accomplishing something big, it feels like we haven't done anything like that in a long time. And, even when we were kids, you and I, Mike, when we were doing concerts and stuff in Arizona and all these kinds of things, like that felt like something, right? Like you're putting together a product and you're putting out this thing. And,
I always look right here is the True Underground poster. That's the Jimmy Eat World show. That's the Jimmy Eat World show. That's the Phoenix TX show. That's Mink Rebellion. And so like, yeah, we did a bunch of cool stuff, and it's cool to look at those things and just have those memories. Well, so I know what you're saying.
And so I look at these people like, and in fact, the chick from Paramore, Hayley Williams, is one of the people that makes me think of this. And it's like, I was so impressed by her that night at that show because she's, I mean, I don't know, for people who are not familiar with Paramore, I mean, she's probably, I'll screw all this up because I don't really know, but she's small, petite woman, like 4'10" or something like that, small lady, but like has pipes that you couldn't believe, right? Like just could shake the planet with her voice, like really amazing. And I've seen some other video and stuff of her, and I'm so impressed by these people. And then I go, oh, well, I wouldn't mind, meeting her, working with her, or trying to put together a project or something. And then it's like, oh, wait, but I don't really have anything to offer, right? And one of the things that in the past worked for me when I was a kid was, hey, let me do a concert poster for you, or hey, let me do a whatever, right? There's sort of this entry level version of something I could do for them.
That big Phoenix TX poster, what we did with them is you designed a website for them, and then we got on their radar, and then we did a show with them.
Right.
So it was.
Yeah, and this is sort of what spurred this on. So I came across this new band. They're called The Warning. They're from Monterrey, Mexico. It's these three sisters, and they're like this metal band, right?
Nice.
And I was like, you know what, this is cool. And I mean, people who've learned enough about me and Mike over the years, like, I mean, we're big music fans. We spend a lot of time in and around music, and, and I'm just listening to their music and going, you know what, these girls fucking shred, and they're young girls, but they're awesome. And so I was like, well, golly, I would love to just do something with those guys to try and like, I don't know, keep a toe in the music industry or do something that's fun that isn't just work. So I did exactly that, right? I pitched them on a website because their current official website is rough. And, they, like I say, they're from Mexico. They have very good English, but their, like bios and everything on the website are kind of a mess, all this stuff. And I was like, well, we could improve that, make their website quite a bit better, no charge, just, something to be involved in music.
In the music scene again. Yeah.
So, but then I realized that I was doing that move that I did when I was a kid, which is, hey, can I do your concert poster? Hey, can I do whatever? Right? It's like, and it's cool and it's fine. But at the same time, it's like, I feel like in order to be like, I don't want to be the person that's chasing them. Rather, I want to be sort of desired. So when I reach out to them and they go, oh my God, Ryan reached out to us, guys. Like, we should do something with this guy.
Yeah.
And so it's making me rethink about what I want to do with, I guess, sort of my personal time, right? Because obviously I still have to work for a living, but what I could do on the side. And I'm not totally sure what. So I figured while we were here and we just had some time to kill, that maybe we could just kind of brainstorm on the next big thing because, because this is something that I want to figure out. And, I mean, even at the top of my game, like, so even if I can scale my company into this multi-billion-dollar ad agency and we're this global tech conglomerate, nobody is going to care.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, it's like, oh, cool, you can make me a poster or you can do whatever. But design is pretty commoditized. It's easy to get. It's cheap. It's, so even like the coolest poster is like kind of going to have kind of a, little fire and then it'll be done. Right. We'll never talk about it again. And so it's like, so being that to a person in, in this case, in a musical group, like being the person who can offer some free design work or something, like, isn't that big a prize?
Yeah.
So anyway, so I'm trying to figure out what's next and how to do some things. And I don't know if that is a musical venture, if it's a production thing, like, help produce somebody's album. I don't know if it's, like what it is, but if I was to try and break back into the music industry in some way, I don't know what the way to do it is, but I'm just curious if you have any thoughts.
Well, I've actually been thinking about that myself. So last Saturday, I got back into Idaho. Well, I got back like Thursday, I think, Friday, Thursday. And I had a bunch of work I had to do, and I had fruit that I needed to can. And so, like, this whole weekend's been crazy. But I was scrolling through Instagram, and there was a band that I've worked with in the past that they've paid me to do audio for them and to record some of their tracks and stuff like that. Not amazing money. I mean, they're an up and coming band, and essentially I'm just doing it for gas money to get to the venue and back. And for me, it's like paid practice. When I do bar gigs and stuff like that, that's what I equate it to as paid practice, because I'm going and doing, a 4-hour set for $300 where I go and do a wedding for 3,500. So it's like peanuts compared to what I normally make, but it keeps my chops up. So it's kind of like what I equate it to. And so I had all of my gear still in the trailer because I didn't have time to unload it or anything like that. And I'm scrolling through Instagram. I see this band has a show coming up. I'm like, hey, where's your show? And they're telling me where it's at. It was at Portland Valley Brewing, and it was a block party. And I was like, do you guys need anything? You need like microphone stands or whatever? Like, let me know. I'm in town, so I can help out if you need it. And they're like, well, you got a subwoofer? I don't know if it'll work with our mixer or anything, because they have a powered mixer and I have a powered subwoofer. So you have to send a mic level signal and not a, 300 watts to it, whatever to that. So I was like, well, it won't really work with your mixer, but I got all my gear in the trailer. So if you guys, help me when I get there, I will run audio for you just pro bono, just because I haven't done bands all summer and I was itching for it. So I went and did it, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, just getting in there and EQing the bands, adding compression, figuring out that there's a gate on a channel that's causing problems and shutting it off, and just making me think about audio again, just kind of like got that itch going again. And I also met this girl in Salt Lake who is a singer-songwriter who is amazing. And her name's Carly McKinnon. So if you want to check her out, she's top-notch, great singer. And so I'm trying to brainstorm a way to get, my favorite local bands, a couple Salt Lake bands, and do like a little mini winter festival kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And so I'm thinking I might try and do something Thanksgiving, December-ish. I don't know, but that's kind of what I'm thinking. And even if it doesn't make money, that's not what it's about. It's about working with talented musicians, putting something together that wouldn't have happened without it. Every show I did down in Phoenix, it was just at the end of the show, it was like, that was amazing. There's 500-600 people here that will remember this the rest of their lives, and just, adds really cool stuff into an otherwise empty winter. You know what I mean? So, I am in the process of trying to plan something here in Pocatello, maybe in Salt Lake, if I can find a venue that works. But I'd be down to do something with you.
Yeah.
In that regards.
Well, and that's the thing, right? I mean, because part of, I think, what I used to like so much about, my time running around with the bands, time putting shows and stuff together with you, I think what it is, and I think that what's missing for me right now is I think that there's this lack of connection to other creative people.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like, it's not necessarily like artists or creative people or people who work in my space, so to speak. But like when I go out to network or meet people, I never go out to meet
salespeople.
Other artists or something. Right? I always go out to meet business people or, guys that own companies and to see if I can sell them something, right? See if I can. But what I want to try and do is flip that. I mean, so that my social time is spent being social and that my business time is spent fielding calls because we're in such demand that that people are coming to us instead of us going to them, right?
Yeah.
Because I feel like, I met this guy that I brought on. His name's Chris Cannon, a guy in Salt Lake. He's helping me out with Webflow and product design. stuff.
Uh-huh.
And he's great, really talented dude. And I've only worked with him on one project, but his portfolio work is amazing and stuff. He's great.
Nice.
And so, but he was saying kind of the same thing. I think he's a little younger than me, but sort of contemporary. And it's like, we get caught up in a work and on projects, and we work project to project, but we never really get out and do anything.
Yeah.
And in his case, he's at least involved with a couple sort of like creative groups, like you've mentioned before, going to these meetups and stuff for programmers and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So he's involved with a couple things like that might be beneficial to me if I can, go to a couple of the same events that he's attending or whatever. But like minimally, like, I want to go into the city and do lunch, but do lunch with him and just hang out with a creative guy instead of going and meeting some other business guy. You know
Right.
what I mean? And and so I think that's kind of part of this whole thing is switching the dynamic from this thing where I'm chasing business and chasing creativity and chasing all these things that I wish I had in hand. And I'm going to try and switch it to, pursuing creative endeavors, meeting creative people. And I think the rest will sort of work itself out. Like, I think, you'll find through that networking the people that you want to do business with, and you'll find through that networking the people that you want to create with, right? Like I would love to collaborate with some people on some stuff. But those opportunities don't come around very often because it's typically a business conversation when I'm out with somebody. And, and I'd like to change that up a little bit, or at least augment it with some other ideas.
Well, so that's, when I moved from Phoenix to Seattle and I started focusing on DJing and being a performer, quote unquote, instead of, just being a promoter or being the light guy, I wanted to be in the spotlight, be in front of everyone. And then I realized that, I just stabbed myself in the finger.
That'll happen.
Yeah, no, I'm playing with like this drill bit and I just, let go. Ow, that's in there deep. Yeah, that stunk. Anyways.
Would you like to plug the drill bit manufacturer? I mean, apparently it's a good quality bit.
Yeah, it was a little driver kind of thing, and it has this little spring thing on it, and it stabbed me. Yeah. But anyways, what I was saying is I realized that coming from the band scene to being the solo DJ doing gigs, it's very lonely. It's very like it's just you. Whereas at the band, you got the drummer, you got the bass player, you got the lead singer, you got two guitar players, you got someone on keys. There's 8 or 9 people, and then there's girlfriends and family members and fans that come to all the shows, and you meet and hang out with a lot of people at every show or during practice during the week. And, that usually involves food and drinks, and, it's your social life is, there. And, it's a introvert and a software developer and a DJ that when you're in the booth, it's just you and maybe a person that wants a request. You don't really socialize. You don't really have that. Like here in Pocatello, the only people I hang out with is that band I did sound for the other day and the open mic night. And that's because I got up off my ass and started going to open mic night to meet people and actually hang out. And so I think that that might be kind of what you're craving is more of that, like let's hang out with people and actually develop real relationships instead of I want or I need something from you.
Yeah. And I think that's right. And, and I've sort of downplayed in the past that basically every client we've ever worked with has come by way of relationship, right? I mean, I always kind of put it down as, this is it's a slow burn. This is a tough way to meet new clients, these kinds of things, right? Which are sort of negative comments. But the reality is that that's kind of how everything gets done. Right, is through the people you meet and through the relationships you build and stuff like that. And, I think part of my focus has shifted a little bit, which is that I'm trying to do more or like scale the business a little bit. Right. And so it's forcing me to put like a more of a business guy hat on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of the relationships that I'm trying to build right now are more in that kind of, transactional realm. right? Where it's like, hey, we have a service, you have a need, like, let's get together, right? Like, it's not, hey, we're your buddy, like, we haven't done whatever, I don't know your kids' names, like, I mean, we haven't actually fostered a good relationship. Rather, it's just transactional. And that's how my business was early, when I was much younger. And I moved away from all that and put a lot of emphasis on building better relationships and things like that. And I feel like I've slipped back into that a little bit. So I think that that's one thing that, I want to try and put a little emphasis into fixing. And even if it's just on personal time, right? Maybe there still needs to be sort of a transactional business approach, which is just that, we're trying to grow the business rapidly. And, these closely grown relationships, I either need to figure out a way to grow the relationship more quickly or accept the fact that we're going to have sort of transactional relationships, at some level. And,
so that's one thing I like about my, 9 to 5 per se, right? Having an actual job. It's a job. I'm doing it strictly for the paycheck, not to, I'll be friendly and nice to people and try and develop relationships with coworkers and stuff like that. But really it's just about the money. But the music, doing the bands and doing the, weddings are just there. They're my bread and butter. But, working with these bands and doing these things, if I make $50 to cover gas, I'm cool with it for now. If things explode and, an album I work on goes nuts, then we can talk. But until I have something of value to add to the equation that, is significant, a local band in Pocatello, Idaho isn't going to have the budget to pay me $3,500 to come and set up sound and lights for them.
Yeah.
Just it's facts. And so if I want to be a part of the equation and develop those relationships and actually friendships, that's mainly what I'm going for. I'm just sick and tired of being a hermit and, sitting behind a computer screen all day and, doing my own thing. I want those friendships and I want those relationships. And so if it means
and it's true. And, and that was a big part of why, I've continued, or anytime that we've had lulls in business or whatever, I tend to go right back to looking at agencies and stuff like that to maybe go work in an agency again. And I don't really want the workload. I really don't want the schedule. I really don't want a lot to do with like sort of the agency business. Mm-hmm. But I mean, one of the most valuable things I ever did was work in an agency and make a ton of relationships. And a lot of those relationships sustain our business today. In fact, our top client is comprised of 2 former people I worked with a decade ago now, and it's like, those relationships wouldn't have happened without the agency. So you took the good with the bad, but, being in a room where you're forced to hang out with people and work with people and collaborate and stuff like that, I think is really valuable. I spend a lot of time in this room, working by myself. And, now I have a few more collaborative ventures that I'm working on, but like, it's mostly this. Mm-hmm. And even the people who work for me, we talk over Slack. We don't, we're all different parts of the country and stuff. So it's like, we're all over the place, so it's not like we're sitting down and having a rap session to work through a concept, right? Like we're not concepting together. We're not building something together. It's, hey, I've got a project, you do it, Well, I mean, but that's the thing. But I need to be taking more advantage of people like you and like these other people who are working with me, like instead of doing the concepting on my own, hey, do you have 15 minutes? We can get together and talk about something, because it's like those kinds of things. I mean, not only in the creative realm, I mean, they make better work, I mean, you get better output when you work with other people, and as good as I think I am, I can recognize that when I've collaborated on an idea or something, that things are better. And it started to come clear a little bit, like just in the last couple of days, actually, because I'm doing, which has been really hard with my broken shoulder, because I have numb fingers. I've been working on this, like, every October, there's all these different drawing challenges, right? There's Inktober and, all these other ones. And I start one every year and I make it about a week and then we don't do it anymore. But I'm 3 days in to the current one. I have to finish day 3 right now, but the drawings that I'm doing, at least the first couple, have been pretty top level or superficial, right? Not a lot of concept. Just, okay, the prompt was to draw an owl, so okay, I drew an owl, right? Instead of doing something that was conceptual or had deeper meaning or was more creative or more thoughtful, it was very superficial, right? Just top level. So then the second drawing, the idea was possession, right? So, but like in a Halloween context, right? So, I did this little like mushroomy character that's surrounded by these little ghouly spirit dudes or whatever flying around him. And, and tried to build something that was a tad more conceptual, right? That was this vibe of this creature being possessed or whatever. So I took a little step further. Well, for day 3, the concept or the thing or the prompt is Madhouse. And I immediately thought of Mix Mob. So for people who don't know Mix Mob, they had a song called Madhouse that I used to love. And that was one of the bands I used to work with. So I thought, hey, is there a way to work that in? And I got thinking, right. But I did a bunch of different sketches for this one, which is something I haven't done for these kinds of things in the past. And I put together something that I felt like was more of a concept, right? So it's kind of going to end up being kind of a crazy guy in the room with like his shadow being cast as like a demon or something, right? And so, and I'm trying to keep these illustrations simple because I just don't have time to work 8 hours a day drawing for a drawing challenge. But it's doing a couple of things. One, it's making me try and concept and be a little bit more creative, right? I mean, there are a lot of other top level creative people or illustrators working on these prompts, right? And they're sharing them with the company that's behind this prompt, and and that company is choosing the best and sharing it out and stuff like that, right? And I'd like to be considered among those good illustrators, right? So I need to come up with stuff that is conceptual or works sort of in the same realm as them, and so that's forcing me to do a little better creative work. And also, hopefully getting in the habit of drawing every day again will be good for me and good for just sort of my dexterity. I mean, I used to draw for hours and hours and hours on end. And now if I draw more than a couple hours, like my wrist's cramping up and all kinds of stuff, right? Like I just let that muscle go. And so I've got to do some work on that. But I guess the point is that by spending a little bit more time on this and trying to develop the process, the work's already better. Now, if I took that to the next level by working on some project or a concept or whatever, but bouncing it off of multiple people and having conversations about stuff, how much better could the work be then? Right.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I'm thinking about for whatever this next big thing is, and I've toyed with everything, the rebirth of DJ Easy Puppy to
for those of you that don't know, this was a collab Ryan and I were talking about for a while. And it was pretty funny.
Yeah, I had grand plans.
How did you come up with the name again? What was the name?
I had grand plans of being like an EDM DJ, right? Because I was just like, these guys look like they're having a good time, and I like the music and all that stuff. So I was like, let's just do that. And I would always joke, and this is, I don't know, maybe a figment of my age or something, but I would always joke that my name was DJ Easy Money, which is kind of this old dumb cliche DJ name. And my wife thought that was stupid indeed. And she thought my idea of having a EDM career was also stupid. And so she would make fun of it and started calling it DJ Easy Puppy.
Well, wasn't like a slip of the tongue or something.
Yeah, something.
She heard it wrong.
Yeah, I ended up I did a logo, I had a website, everything for DJ Easy Puppy.
It was funny. You had a better logo and a better website than me, who's been a DJ for 10 years at this time.
Yeah, I also had a booking link and all this kind of stuff, and I'd literally not done a single scrap of music yet. Yeah. So, but I was thinking about this, like, with this band, The Warning, that I'm interested in. I was like, well, maybe I'll take one of their songs and try and remix it just for fun. Like try and write a drum and bass to put underneath it, and kind of make a hip hoppy version of one of their rock songs or something.
Yeah.
And there's this old DJ called Girl Talk, and Girl Talk does a lot of this kind of stuff where he's kind of mashing together, different genres of rock music and stuff like that. And I was like, maybe I just do like a Girl Talk light, kind of version, and take one of these Warning songs and mash it up with somebody else's song or whatever. And, give me an opportunity to play and do something musical, and, but also maybe do something that would be appealing to musical people. So they would go, oh, well, hey dude, we should collaborate on a thing,
Yeah.
So anyway, so I've joked about everything from that to, different ideas around, creative ventures or creating a product or whatever. I just, I haven't landed on it yet, but anyway, next big thing's coming, whatever it is.
It's funny because you mentioned the drawing and getting your hands cramped, and it's just like something you don't do that often. And I was talking with this Carly girl the other night, and I showed her a picture of my guitar because she was wondering if I played. And I'm like, yeah, I got one. And I looked at it, and it was just covered in dust, and I'm like, oh, that's embarrassing. It's like, it's obvious that I haven't practiced in a long time. And I mentioned that to her, and she kind of like challenged me to practice again and gave me a song to to work on. And um, it got me kind of like my fingertips were hurting because I was actually playing the guitar again. And back in the day, they didn't hurt. I could just play. And I'm playing Eric Clapton and, stuff that was really kind of difficult. And I try and play that same song now, and it's like I can't do much. And so I ended up setting the camera up and recording myself playing the song. She wanted me to learn sitting on the dock of the bay just as a way to get back into it. And so I learned it. I learned power chords with it, and then I did another type of thing with it. And it was like just getting back into that and making my hand do things that it hadn't done in a long time. It was like, man, I should be practicing the piano. I should be practicing the guitar. I should be, I went to school for audio engineering, and if I can't, compose or write or do songs, what's the point of it? And so I've kind of like set a personal goal to actually perform at one of the open mic sessions.
Oh, cool.
And whether that, I don't necessarily want to write originals, but I'll cover a couple songs, and I've never sang in front of anyone. And so that would be kind of like a step out of my comfort zones. It's funny. I can jump on those things right there and play in front of 1,000 people, and it doesn't bother me. But if I sit on a piano or I sit with a guitar, I'm nervous as hell. And so it's like, I think that's a good kind of like get out of your comfort zone, get out and do something that, makes you practice and makes you not just do the same repetitive thing, and so I'm kind of looking forward to that.
No, I think that's right. And maybe that's the point to kind of just wrap this up or, close this topic is the whole point, I think, is being challenged. Right. And I think a lot of what happens just for me personally in my day to day, and I imagine this is the experience of a lot of people, is you get caught up doing whatever you do and whatever you do that comes easiest. Right. So like, it's easy for me to just keep doing little design projects, and I don't have to think much about them. And, it's pretty easy. I'll just put together a flyer or whatever, but, I kind of use the same old tricks and the same old styles and the same old things, and, I try and keep current on what's modern and try and move my goalposts a little bit. But, at the end of the day, it's still kind of, these are the things I can bust out. These are the things I can do quickly. And they're the things I've been doing quickly for 10 years, 20 years.
And there's a reason you can do it quickly is because you've done it for 10 years.
Right. But it's not the best creative work. Right. I mean, to bring it back to guitars. I mean, I too have a dusty ass guitar sitting over here in the corner, and I was never good, but I learned a few chords, and I could put together, a couple little songs that were nothing, just, little, I could put a couple chords in order. And, even today, I bet if I went and grabbed that guitar right now, I could still do what I could do then, which was nothing. Right. But it shows that I'm capable of learning something. But I got to a point where I knew a few chords, and that was kind of good enough for me. And then I just let it be. It's not that it was too hard to keep learning. It's not that I didn't practice enough or any of that stuff, which are all things you need to be very proficient at something. But like, I didn't put the time to get beyond proficient enough to make a couple noises that sounded like music. And I think that for, people in design careers or any kind of creative venture, it's really easy to fall back into your, whatever works. If you got something that makes money, or you have a design that you like, or a style of illustration that you do. And even like with this little drawing challenge, like I'm drawing in a way that's totally outside of my normal kind of style. I'm really trying to do something different. And I don't know if it's better or worse or whatever, but it'll just be different. But that's really just in hopes of doing something that, pushes my boundaries a little bit, even if it's not a big jump, maybe, there'll be some things that I do differently that might change the way that I do stuff in the future. But I think that, to your point about guitar and everything else like that, I mean, it's like, it really is about pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone. And that's where growth happens, where it's really easy to just kind of stay inside your bubble and not move, but I think that's what emotionally, I think that's what I'm dealing with is that
in software, for example, like I'm really good at front end work as far as like CSS and HTML and getting the layout looking good, but making the functionality using JavaScript and doing API calls and doing all this other stuff, that's hard. And when you tackle the hard stuff, that's when you grow. And that's when and then eventually that hard stuff gets easier because, you figure out how to use Axios and all these different things to do API calls. And then once you figure that out, you know how to do it, you can do another hard thing and you can do another hard thing. Yep. And eventually it becomes easy. And same thing with DJing, same thing with guitar, same thing with piano, same thing with anything you want to do. It's that first step and consistency. And once you get consistency into the equation and meaningful practice, instead of with the piano back in the day, I would learn a song and I would play that same song 100 times and I would have that song mastered, but then I would only just play that song instead of going and learning something else that's hard or something else that's hard. And it's a matter of persistence and continual learning and pushing yourself that moves you from being just a amateur to a professional, or so on and so forth.
Well, and I think that there's some onus on people like you and me who are largely self-employed, have been for a long time. That it's kind of on us to push our boundaries, right? Because if you work in a company and you're in executive leadership and you have a CEO breathing down your neck and you've got to be responsible for things, like you've got somebody pushing you, this outside pressure to make you achieve more, right? Like, okay, I've got a challenge somebody's given me that I need to live up to.
Yeah.
When you're on your own and you don't have sort of a network of people who are pushing you or whatever, it's really easy to slip into that trap. And unfortunately, I feel like I've been in that trap of not pushing myself as hard as I could have in all respects for years,
Yeah.
And so, because, it's been good enough and we grow a little every year and, it's a super slow burn, but we do get a little better every year and, all that kind of stuff. But it's like, designer me today versus designer me 5 years ago, I don't know how much I've evolved really. Like I might be better in business or some of the different things that I've had to pick up over the years, but like the stuff that I don't really have to think about is how to be a decent designer. Yeah. And so, but back to this concept of the next big thing or whatever, or being in demand, it's how do you then cross that precipice from being professionally good, like, to the extent that people spend a lot of money with our company, but to sort of the next level where it's like, you would love to spend money with my company, but you can't get in, right? Because we've got too many people, or, we're more exclusive in the kind of work that we take or whatever it is. Right. So I think that's the next bubble that I'm trying to push through is this, how do we get to a level of proficiency where we're more in demand than we are looking for stuff?
Yeah,
and whether that happens in the ad agency business or if it happens on something personal, like trying to push my illustration or art career further, or whatever it is, but trying to put some real push behind some things and really get outside of what's easy, I think is kind of the goal.
Yeah, I have a DJ friend, Vega. He's actually been on this podcast. We were at Kilby Court when we interviewed him. Remember, with Ryan Caravio? He just exploded on Instagram recently because he started doing these like hip hop mashups of like anime and cartoons and stuff that he watched. He's a huge cartoon head. Like I don't know the genre per se that he's into, but like anime and that kind of stuff. And he'll take these songs that have this niche crowd and add a hip hop beat to it and scratch over it and do really cool stuff. And just because he's so unique and no one else is doing that, he's added like 10,000 followers in a week just because of one video blew up. Wow. And so I was looking through his stuff and he's like, no joke, my rates are going up. So if you want to book me, keep that in mind. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of other DJs who've been on this show, I saw a thing with Victor Minigo the other day. He posted something about doing some work for Doja Cat now.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that means, if he's got a project with her or if he's just doing something about her or what. Like, I don't know the details, but it's just like, but this is another guy who's spent a lot of time being a good DJ. He's, been very proficient in his career. He's got some expertise in radio and pop music and things like that, and then here he is doing something at, upper echelon kind of levels, right? For people who are presently important in that scene. And, so it's pretty cool, but I think that that's it, right? Is getting yourself to a position where you have something to offer that's unique enough that people come to you for it.
Yeah.
And whether that's in DJing or in business or in the product or service you offer or whatever, I think that, developing your skill set that way, I think is always going to pay off. And that's something I want to put a little more emphasis on.
Yeah. I watched, it wasn't a documentary. It was, a live kind of storytelling of the Beastie Boys. Um, they did this kind of, they had a projector behind them, and they were sitting on these stools just telling stories of, the early days and how the band formed and how they had this huge success from their first album, and then their second album didn't do well, and then they had to really, really work to keep it going. And just hearing those stories and hearing how they struggled and had to actually get out their instruments and write music instead of just rapping over beats that other people produced. And it's really cool to hear stuff like that. And I love the behind the scenes stories and the hearing the struggles of these huge bands that we think just are overnight successes. And it's not. It's like your little saying, it took me 10 years to get to where I am today. And every same thing.
Well, I mean, but that's right. I mean, and we've encountered that, hundreds of times at this point on this podcast with different business leaders and stuff like that. Like, everybody who seems like an overnight success has been doing this for 10 years, like, or more, and they all have those struggles and they all have those things, whether it's creative venture or business person or whatever. I mean, it's the one common thread that we've uncovered in the show is that, there's no such thing as an overnight success, and everybody has achieved something, has done it over time. Right. I mean, there might be, your occasional YouTube influencer that was at the right place at the right time, who did the right thing and ended up finding some success, financial or otherwise, but so it's not to say that exceptions don't happen, but in general, the rule is that anybody who's worth their salt has been doing it for a long time, and so I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I think it's all a journey, I mean, everything is, one step after the next, and you come across these realizations or you contend with these different emotional feelings or whatever, and then you learn how to react to it and how to respond and what you need to do and how you can improve. And it's just, that's kind of, I think, the process or part of the journey. And so anyway, but I think that that's something that I'm going to be spending a little extra time thinking about. I may even get back into writing a little bit just so I can kind of put words out and think about it and, lean on some of these ideas because, especially now where my collaborative network is pretty small, like it's tough to have people to bounce these ideas off of. That's why so many of these like solo shows with just you and me turn into these like
we get very
sessions.
Deep and like, right.
It's because we don't have anybody else to talk to. So we just do this. And, which I don't think it's a bad thing to be, so transparent about some of this stuff. Cause I suspect that a lot of people that are about our age, doing whatever their version of our lives is, experience similar emotions and have similar things that they're working through, or have their own challenges and are just looking for people to plant the right seed or leave the right egg behind, and hopefully it can be us sometimes. So otherwise, Sorry, skip this one and go to one you like better. but anyway, so cool, Mike. Well, we're getting to that time. You want to give people any plugs, or do you just want to get out of here?
Yeah, well, you can go to my website, djontic.com, or you can go to our website, eggscast.com, and follow us on YouTube, like and comment. We would appreciate it. And other than that,
all right.
What about you?
Pretty good. So I think I'm still just at ryanrogar.com. I don't think I've updated it in some time, but it does have a bunch of illustrative products and things like that for sale. Most everything from last Halloween's Inktober drawing stuff, I think, is up there for sale right now. Also some cool sticker packs and things like that. This year's Inktober stuff is all being set up for print too. So if there's any real winners out of there, we may have a couple new prints this year. So cool. So feel free to check that stuff out. The agency is r2mg.com. It's R2. Our big product, Agency Pass, is a subscription ad agency model that we're offering right now. So that's pretty exciting. We're having a lot of great interest in that idea. So that's pretty fun. And I guess I'm at Ryan Rogar on all the socials. And speaking of that, I got my Instagram back. So that's a big.
Oh,
big
really?
Good. Yeah. Finally,
Nice.
apparently, the Facebook memory is only about 18 months. So after 18 months of being banned because some Vietnamese dude took over my Facebook account, I have recovered my my social media presence on Instagram again. So
Nice.
I'm at Ryan Rogar again on Instagram. I only have about 3 or 4 posts there, so just getting started over. But it's I don't know. I'm glad to have it back because that one really was like bugging my OCD. So I'm glad to go back.
Just having the actual name.
I got the WhatsApp one back some time ago because when I switched mobile carriers, I was able to plug my phone number in again. And I guess because it was on a different carrier, it allowed it. So I was able to come in. So I've been able to reclaim those 2. I'm not going to bother reopening a Facebook account, but I had to have Facebook. But because they're all connected, when they killed my Facebook account, it killed everything.
I log into my dad's account that he never uses if I need any, like if I'm looking for firewood on Facebook Marketplace, I'll use his account, but I don't have a Facebook account. I have an Instagram account, and I was scrolling through it the other day, and the feed, when it feeds you something that you texted someone, or it feeds you something that you were talking about, it drives me nuts. And I've almost deleted it like 100 times, but it seems to be my only place where I post, wedding stuff or, different things. And so I'm kind of like on the edge of pulling the trigger and deleting it, but I don't know.
I think Instagram is still one of the best places to showcase art. So that's why I'm going to try and keep that one going. Although I was trying to be more active on Twitter than anywhere, or X now, I guess. And I could probably put art there too. And I haven't really thought to do that, but I could. So I don't know.
Well,
so
you got to go do it on Threads too.
Yeah,
and then what's the other one? And then there's just too many. I just don't care at this point. And, sorry. Go to my website.
Well, and that's kind of my stance too. I tried to pick 1 or 2 that I would use. And so I really had kind of relegated it to Instagram and Twitter, but
I had DJ Ontic on Twitter, and I ended up deleting that just because I never logged in. I didn't even have the app on my phone, and I didn't, I don't have anything profound to say, so why bother?
Nope, it's tough. I still, even as somebody who sells social media, to clients and stuff, I still can't totally decide if it's worth doing. So, I mean, it certainly is for some people in some industries and some businesses and whatever. Like, I mean, there's obviously use cases where it's great, but
like when I was at the radio station, I was probably their best social media guy, just because they were paying me to do it. Right. But personally, I don't care enough.
And without time and energy to invest, and honestly, I'd rather be doing my networking and my talking. I'd rather be doing it in person. I don't feel like, I mean, yes, building a social network online can be valuable and trying to build up networks of people and stuff. Maybe you can do it at scale on Twitter or something, but I don't know. Generally speaking, I prefer to do it the old fashioned way. Just go talk to people.
Yep.
So man. All right. Well, let's call it a day. So thanks everybody for tuning into this show this week and every week. And we'll see you guys next time.
See ya.